Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, dear participants. Welcome to this second episode of the Skills Bridge Masterclass series. Today, we will cover a very important and contemporary topic on digital transformations that is impacting the world of work and skills systems. At the same time, it provides an excellent opportunity in reforming skills and lifelong learning policies and systems. We will also discuss how apprenticeships can bridge the digital gap caused by the advancements in digital technology, and also investigating how apprenticeships can be modernized and transformed by using digital technology. Today, we will also launch and present two reports produced under the project Apprenticeship Development for Universal Lifelong Learning and Training, which was supported by the Government of Flanders. Today, we have senior experts from Switzerland, the United Kingdom, France, Flanders, and India as speakers and as well as participants from about 100 countries. Today's program will start with opening remarks from 3 speakers. Then we will launch the 2 reports. And the launch of the reports will be followed by presentations of the 2 reports. And then we will have Q&A session. We will encourage you to kindly use Q&A tab to type your questions, and also mention the name of the particular speaker to whom it is addressed. May I request Jenny, kindly can you just remove this slide from this? Thank you. Now we are starting our opening session, and I will request our first speaker, Mr. Srinivas Reddy, Chief of Skills and Employability Branch, ILO, Geneva, to deliver his opening remarks. The floor is yours, Srinivas.
Thank you very much, Ashwani. Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues joining the session from wherever you are. First of all, I would like to really thank and congratulate all the colleagues that are involved in developing this session. This, as Ashwani has said, this is a very important session, and I would like to also welcome all the panelists and thank you for your time this morning. I would like to begin with thanking the Government of Flanders for your trust and investment that facilitated this research under the adult project. We consider this as a very important project and timely one to really organize this research on contemporary and very important topics on apprenticeships. I also would like to thank and really encourage the colleagues for the excellent partnership that we have with TVET. We have Eric here on the session, that the excellent partnership that we have to also continue to really collaborate on the timely alignment of the adult project with the standard setting apprenticeship process that we have with an international standard setting is on the agenda for the double discussion next year. So the research under this project has helped to shed light on the innovations across different aspects of apprenticeships globally, which has been an excellent exercise in better understanding the local context and the realities. Particularly the 2 studies that we will be discussing today have been highly appreciated by the stakeholders and constituents, with networks like Global Apprenticeship Network taking inspiration from the reports that are being compiled under the adult project. Therefore, I would also like to thank TVET for your excellent collaboration with the ILO and the adult project and beyond, and particularly on this digitalization of apprenticeships related issues. So we at the ILO, our vision is to really furthering the digital transformation, how to really better utilize the digital transformation from the dual perspective that the two reports that we are launching today are offering. Utilizing apprenticeships to better match the needs of the digital economy, because that is where a lot of demand is expected to grow. And similarly, how do we use from a supply side, modernizing apprenticeship systems through digital tools and materials? So the state of the art apprenticeship systems that are one key tool in skilling youth and adults alike, and to connect on the job and off the job learning to respond to the challenges in the world of work. During the standard setting discussions last year on apprenticeships, there was quite a bit of debate on the various experiences that we have and the limitations that we have on offering on the job and off the job learning programs in apprenticeships world over. Some countries like Switzerland, Austria, Germany have excellent systems in combining the on the job and off the job learning, whereas in large parts of the developing world, and particularly with small and micro enterprises, it's a huge challenge to offer off the job learning. So how much the digitalization and digital tools can support this huge backlog that we have in terms of the challenge that we have in addressing the apprenticeship systems. I also would like to see how, since digital tools are advancing at rapid pace, it is crucial that all actors of the apprenticeship ecosystem work together in flexible and collaborative ways to adopt accordingly. I would like to thank all the delegates that have joined today from different parts of the world for your interest on this important topic, and encourage to really take a look at the reports. I would like to strongly encourage you to take a look at the reports, as we at the ILO, we are very much committed to see how digitalization of apprenticeship systems, but also the apprenticeship for the digital economy can be promoted, and how can we support our member states, both the governments, employers and workers organizations, and the training providers that will help advancing the apprenticeship systems across the globe. With this, I would like to thank you, colleagues, and pass it back to you, Ashwani. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Srinivas, for clearly highlighting the importance of these two reports, particularly linked to the digital technology, and which is greatly impacting the world of work, and how we can also use that technology in promoting better learning through apprenticeships also. Thanks also that you highlighted the link between this report and how these reports can contribute towards the standard setting process, which is undergoing in the ILO, as well as after the standards are developed, how these reports can also be used to strengthen the capacity of the member states. And also very nicely you mentioned also the importance of the collaboration between different players in promoting digital tools. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you soon after the opening remarks again. Now I'll request Mr. Eric Swab, Head of International Division in the Swiss Federal University for Vocational Education Training. Floor is yours, Eric.
Thank you very much, Ashwani. So greetings from Switzerland to all the participants. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be part of the presentation and the launch of the two reports today under the adult project. Indeed, it was mentioned, we are in a very dynamic, disruptive environment with greening and digitalization as the main megatrends that firstly provide opportunities for modernizing apprenticeships by new digital tools. And there you will also hear the presentation of my colleague of TVET, Francesca, later on. And we are also dealing in several research projects with this modernization, digitalization of apprenticeships here in TVET. Secondly, so this digitalization of course, it changes also the skills need of the labor market. And here I'm not talking only about the digital skills gap, but also about the transversal competence, the transversal skills in general that are in the focus today, but actually that have been always very important. And in this regard, also at TVET, we have a few research projects going on. And for example, we are focusing especially on the social, emotional competencies, skills, and how they can be integrated in the learning and teaching. And I just wanted to emphasize when it comes to transversal skills, but also to the digital skills, that we consider here at TVET that I think we cannot separately consider them, but always in relation to the technical skills and always in relation to a concrete work situation in the labor market. So new technologies, new skills does not necessarily mean new profession. Actually, in Switzerland, we have about 250 regulated, recognized professions. But despite of the huge pace and huge changes in the environment, only 1 to 2 new professions are developed per year, and also about 1 to 2 just disappear. There are reasons for that, because the qualification standards are quite broad, so the new skills can be integrated in the existing curricula, in the existing professions, or there's some kind of flexibility. But the other way also, it takes a long time to develop a new profession. So there's the challenge also that education is always behind the business and behind the business needs. Nevertheless, just to give you an example, there has been the new profession digital business developer that has been just recently developed and has been approved by the ministry. And what is important also to note that actually in Switzerland, the professional associations, the business is responsible for defining these competence standards. As mentioned, we are from our side also, we are very glad to continue the partnership with ILO since a few years now. Currently, we are developing the toolkit for score skills in TVET. And secondly, also TVET is offering jointly with the training center of ILO in Turin an executive education program on competence development in TVET. So these are just 2 examples also for this excellent partnership. And I would like to thank ILO and also the other partners for this partnership and also for the session today. And yeah, I look forward to launch the report later on and wish you and all of us an exciting masterclass today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eric, for your very kind words. And for the other participants who are present here, the International Labour Organization is having a very fruitful collaboration and partnership with the Swiss Federal University for Vocational Education Training. And thanks to Eric, who highlighted some of the products or some of the works we are doing jointly, but there are many more areas where we are working together. And thanks to Eric also highlighting that how digital skills closely links with the social, emotional, and transversal skills, and mentioning about the new developments which are taking place in Switzerland, particularly development of a new profession on that one. And very clearly, he highlights that, very, very important factor for success of apprenticeship system or the dual VET system is that he highlights is that the relevant industry professional associations lead the work. So when he clearly mentioned that new profession has been developed, is the industry association, professional associations who take the lead in developing that profession and always take the lead also in managing and implementing the programs. Thank you very much, Eric. Now I will request our third keynote speaker, Miss Aurélie Duchateau. She is candidate deputy diplomatic representative of the government of Flanders. And as Srinivas has mentioned earlier, we are very, very thankful to them for collaborating with the ILO and providing support, funding support to us also, which is not their funding support, they have technically collaborated. A big team has collaborated in all of the research and producing these papers. So I will request her to take the floor and deliver her keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashwani. Ladies and gentlemen, well, it's a real pleasure to be here and a privilege to be here for this very interesting and important masterclass and the launch of the 2 reports, of which we are very proud. And I would like to underline as well the excellent partnership and collaboration with the ILO and other partners. As Ashwani said, my name is Aurélie Duchateau. I'm a diplomat in training, and today I'm replacing my colleague, Mr. David Maanhout, who is the delegate of Flanders and member of the permanent mission of Belgium in Geneva, but unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, he cannot be present today. As you know, lifelong learning and skills development are priorities of the government of Flanders. And already in 2019, Flanders launched a dual learning program in which young people from the age of 15 already can opt to combine their school education with workplace learning experience. And even the Flemish Parliament in November 2018 approved a dual learning also within the special needs secondary education. So for us, dual learning is a key means by which apprenticeship systems transition into lifelong learning. And the government of Flanders is therefore also exploring options within adult education and the adult workplace. Lifelong learning and skills development also occupy a prominent place in my government's post-COVID-19 recovery plan, and as well as in its ambitions to promote decent work as part of its foreign policy. So it's actually in this framework that the government of Flanders has supported the ILO project entitled Apprenticeships Development for Universal Lifelong Learning and Training, in short, adults, as you all know, and has also proved its support to the ILO's global program on skills and lifelong learning. So one element of the adult project was to counter the gap in research regarding the relevance of apprenticeships to lifelong learning and the future of work. And the research that was undertaken aims to look at existing initiatives to identify effective strategies, and in this way to find possible ways forward, starting from this data, and thereby to generate new ideas and policy options to modernize apprenticeships. And today we hope that research will contribute to development of a new ILO standard on apprenticeships. And of course, well, this is not new. Apprenticeships have developed over time, and today, like Eric already mentioned, in our digital age, well, they continue to evolve at an increasingly rapid pace. But even though it's changing, we are convinced that the apprenticeships will still play a very crucial role in preparing young people for their future careers. But importantly, today, they will also comprise skills enhancement and further learning for adult workers. So when properly managed and well designed in terms of, for example, sustainability and transparency, apprenticeship systems can play a crucial role to ensure a thriving economy, but also to drive motivated workforce and a sustainable future for all. An investment in skills and lifelong learning is therefore an investment in people and an investment that contributes to human-centered recovery. So I wish you all a very fruitful and productive masterclass and very interesting discussions today. And I thank you very much for this opportunity to take the floor. And I wish you a very fruitful masterclass. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aurélie, for clearly highlighting the importance of dual VET and apprenticeship in promoting employability of young people, for workers, for improving productivity of enterprises, and also significantly benefits the economy as a whole. And that's why your country is also now promoting dual VET systems as one. And also you highlighted very clearly that it has to be, for apprenticeship to be successful, it has to be properly designed and properly implemented. Very important points to that one. And thanks for indicating very clearly the importance of this research project, which we are both of our organization are doing jointly. And we continue to look forward to basically take these findings from these reports and the recommendations which are coming forward, as we are doing currently doing the advocacy of this one. Later on, we have plans. We will do for capacity building of the constituents from various countries, and let's work together and plan together that how we take this work, important work, the findings which are coming up, how these can benefit the member states of the ILO as well as the constituents for designing and implementing apprenticeships properly, as you have highlighted, so that it can benefit the people at large. Thank you once again. Now with this one, after the keynote addresses, now we will launch the 2 reports. Of course, we are in a virtual session, and for the participants, let us inform also, in view of the preserving our climate, we have decided not to print the copies. We will use we have the virtual copies of this one. So the launch will be like a unique one, more like a virtual launch only. So I will request to jointly Mr. Srinivas Reddy and Ms. Aurelie Duchateau to kindly jointly launch the report on promoting apprenticeships to meet the skills needs of digital and knowledge economy together. So I will request first, maybe Srinivas would like to say, now that the report is on the screen, and those who are participants, they can scan the code there, and they will be it will, once they scan with their camera, it will lead directly to the website. But we are going to put the web link on the chat also. So just maybe Srinivas would like to say a few words about this report.
Thank you so much, Ashwani, and congratulations to all the colleagues that have worked on the report. And again, let me take this opportunity to thank you, Aurelie, and your government for partnering with us in really developing these very important research products, and also Eric and Swoofed for the wonderful partnership. So as Ashwani said, this is a digital launch. So I'm very, very happy to join Aurelie in officially launching the thematic report on promoting apprenticeships to meet the skills needs of the digital and knowledge economy. I think this is very, very important, brand new initiative. And colleagues, those of you who are following this session and in the masterclass, this paper explores how apprenticeship systems need to change in order to prepare people for good quality jobs in rapidly changing digital and knowledge-based economies. This report also, closes with the recommendations designed to help countries consider different ways forward in modernizing apprenticeships to meet the challenge of digitalization. I think these are very important aspects that the paper has addressed, the report has addressed. Simon will soon present the content and the recommendations in more detail, so kindly continue to stay tuned. And I also would like to request all of you to please make sure that you take a look at the report on the ILO website, as Ashwani has shown you the QR code through which you can access. It's also on the ILO website. And please take time to review the report and make use of the recommendations. Thank you very much, Ashwani.
Thank you, Srinivas. And maybe Aurelie, if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, actually, yeah, thank you very much that I can take the floor again. I confirm that the QR code works, which is always a miracle when I have to do this. So it's a very good start. No, congratulations on this excellent work. It will be very useful as well for us to use the recommendations in our policy work and to further strengthen the apprenticeships in order to meet the skills needed in a digital and knowledge economy. I will not elaborate further. Thank you very much, Ashwani.
Thank you very much, Aurélie. Please stay with us. Now we'll go for the launch of the second report. And this time I'll request Eric and Aurélie to jointly launch the second report, which is on the digital transformation. Can you, Jenny, please upload that on the screen? So the second report is the digital transformation of apprenticeships, emerging opportunities and barriers. So I request basically now to Eric first to maybe if you like to say a few words, and then after that, Aurélie, please. Eric.
Thank you, Ashwani. Yeah. Well, I don't have a bell to ring and to launch officially the start, but nevertheless, it's a great honor to officially launch now the thematic report on digital transformation of apprenticeships, emerging opportunities and barriers. This paper explores how digital technology can be used to improve three things. Firstly, the effectiveness, the inclusiveness, and the efficiency of apprenticeships. It also highlights the ongoing and emerging innovative practices in using digital and educational technologies. My colleague Francesca will afterwards present the report and the findings in more detail. And as Ashwani already mentioned, so please have a look at the report using the QR code. And so, yeah, it's officially launched, and I thank you very much. And I think I can also then give back to Aurélie, who will also maybe say a few words about the launch.
Thank you, Eric. Unfortunately, yeah, we had to think about a bell, actually. Again, I confirm the code works. Yeah, it's a very important report and start to have a look at those barriers and opportunities in this digital transformation of apprenticeships. And also, I would like to add to what Eric said. There are very important case studies as well from Switzerland and India. So it will be very interesting to see, to compare those case studies and see how we can take best practices back home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are also in the learning mode. Now, very good ideas have been given by Eric and Aurélie. We could have used a bell also, or maybe a digital bell or a virtual bell also. Maybe the next time we'll definitely try new things. So as you can see, it's a word of lifelong learning. So none of us are perfect. We are always keep on learning, innovating new things, and definitely in the next one we'll do better. Thank you. So now with this one, I thank all the speakers who are there in the opening session, and will request them to remain here as long as is possible for them. But at the same time, now we are going to the next session, and I will request Simon Perryman, who is our esteemed author for this report on the promoting apprenticeships to meet the skills needs of the digital and knowledge economy, to make a presentation on the findings and recommendations of this report. Simon, the floor is yours.
Ashwani, thank you very much indeed. And it's a real pleasure to be here this morning to have an opportunity to present this report. And as you know, we've worked together for a little while, but I've never been in a position to write a paper for the ILO report before. So it's been a really interesting exercise for me in just trying to get my head around something that I've been worrying about for a while, actually, which is that because I'm a consultant on apprenticeship systems internationally, I've recently actually just been working in Sri Lanka and in the Caribbean and Pakistan and other countries on apprenticeship systems. So it's been very interesting to me to compare what other countries are doing with what we're doing in the UK here. I'm also the chair of a large further education college in the UK called Barnsley College, which And at that college, we've been really pushing very hard the whole digital skills agenda and just built a centre of excellence on digital skills. But I wanted to spend time really to think a bit more about some of the major implications for work and for skills that are emerging from this, as Eric described it, this disruption, this mega trend in the world. And so I'm hoping to be able to cover that a little bit for you this morning. But obviously, do please have a look at my report. What I'm going to cover is, first of all, the impact of digitalization on jobs. I mean, very superficially this morning, but nevertheless, say a few words on that. I want to ask a question about how well prepared are we for the digital economy. Then look at some issues around skills needs of the digital and knowledge-based economy. Thinking about how we might shape a skills response and some of the issues that we face in doing that. Then look at challenges, particularly for apprenticeship systems. As part of the work, I did some case studies of some specific countries, and so I'll just say a word about that, but there's much more detail in the actual report itself. And then some recommendations or ways forward in modernising apprenticeships. Well, these are some first thoughts by me, really, and hopefully we'll start a debate amongst people about what really needs to be done to modernise apprenticeships. But it throws out at least some initial ideas, which I hope will be of help to people. So let's have a look first at issues about the effect on jobs. And I mean, this slide just really says what Eric said earlier, which is that there is a profound disruption taking place in society as a result of digitalization, and that education and skills systems need to become sufficiently agile in order to cope with this change. So, you know, there are some fundamental changes happening, really, which we need to get on top of from a point of view of education and skills systems. In terms of the effects on work, I guess there were four big things that came through for me as I started to do some research on this. The first is about polarization. So polarization is all around the fact that jobs actually, you know, are not all going to be taken by robots. There's going to be plenty of jobs left in economies all over the world, but actually work seems to be polarizing between higher and low skilled jobs, and with jobs in the middle actually suffering most from the effects of automation and digitization. And I've just got another slide on that in a minute, which I'll show you. The second issue is really all about hybridization. So what's really come through to me is that, and I think Eric was also alluding to this really, that it's not so much that there's an enormous number of new jobs, although there are quite a lot of new jobs emerging in the economy, but actually jobs are changing. Most jobs are changing and changing quite quickly to combine traditional skills and digital skills. So, you know, a good example would be digital marketing, where in the past you didn't need to have a lot of IT expertise to be a marketing person, but you most certainly do now. So, you know, those, and that is affecting every single part of the economy. Part of the good news about that is what might be called complementarity, which is that, you know, at its best, automation and digitization is taking away some of the most routine parts of jobs and is ideally creating space to enhance people's work and to give them the opportunity to add creativity, problem solving, and improve communications about the work that they do, and take away some of the more boring and routine detailed technical aspects of work. However, I think there's another side to this equation as well, and you know, whilst the fourth effect would be perhaps platform working or issues about the development of the gig economy, which is spreading extremely rapidly, and there, I think we can see, on the one hand, we can see workers being able to use the opportunities in the digital economy to have greater autonomy about their work, greater flexibility about when they work and how they work. But at the other end of the scale, and particularly, I guess, for jobs, for lower skilled jobs, there's a really big issue about precarious employment. I think people will call this the precariat that's developing. And this is so many people now, certainly in the UK, who have got jobs that don't necessarily have a future. They don't have a career prospects. They are having to work extremely unsocial hours in some cases, and meeting very challenging environment with relatively low pay. So there are good opportunities and some very challenging issues, I think, that we face as a result of digitization. I'm having a problem moving to the next slide. I'm sorry about that. Let me just yeah. So on job polarization, this slide, don't worry about all the detail in it, but it just shows countries of different income levels, from low income level to high income level countries, from left to right on this slide. And the red bar in the middle is showing the change in employment share in medium skilled jobs. And so you can see, and the blue line going upwards is the change in employment share for high skilled jobs. So you can see there's a real change taking place in economies across the world, really, of all different income levels, towards this polarization where high-end jobs are growing, low-end jobs are actually growing in most cases, but medium-level jobs have been declining. And of course, there is a danger of exaggerating the impact. Not every job is changing. We're not being taken over by robots, as I said, but change is creeping up on us day by day. And it's sometimes only when you look back 5 years that you see just how profound some of the changes are in the way in which we operate, the way we work. And I guess each economy, there is a very different effect in each economy. So there are no single or simple solutions here. And of course, COVID has had a really profound effect, I think, on the pace of digitalization. Just looking at my own environment, working with this College of Technology in England, we moved all our students to online working within 2 or 3 weeks. We gave out, I think, 1,000 laptops to students and teachers. We had to help all our teachers to change all of their lessons to online learning. And so just in the learning space, an amazing impact. And of course, I think we're now all trying to decide whether we're actually going to ever go back to work or not in offices. So there's huge amounts of office space now vacant in the UK, and people aren't sure whether hybrid working is going to stick and how much of it is going to be realistic for the longer term or not. So I think there's some very interesting changes in the whole way in which we work and the way in which we teach people as a result of COVID. And it really seems to have accelerated this pace of change. There is, of course, a growing gap, I fear, between the most and the least digitally skilled countries. And there's a real risk of digital exclusion, people in economies who are falling behind, where countries are failing to swiftly adjust or just haven't got the resources actually to make those changes that they need to make. And of all these things, it feels to me like we need to be rethinking our education and training systems so that they're much more agile, quick moving in terms of their development. so that we are continuing to equip young people and adults with the digital cognitive and transversal skills that they'll need for the future. Just to sort of highlight the some of the issues about the gap between different countries on digital skills. This is a slide that's in the report, which comes from the International Digital Society and Economy Index from 2020, and it kind of shows the in rather stark terms, I think, the kind of divide between, you know, the top players in the US, Australia, Switzerland, the top 4 in the EU, and people who are you know, at the bottom of the sort of digitalization of skills agenda. So there's a very, very substantial difference here. I won't go into details of exactly all of what that means, but it just, the slide I think is quite graphic in terms of showing the degree of divide. And this slide from the ICT Development Index, although it is a slightly old slide now, unfortunately, does rather helpfully show, I think, you know, what this distribution is across different regions, where you can see Europe, 8 and 9 is at the top end of the scale in terms of digitization and effective skills utilization in the digital world. And you can see the Europe, Americas are very strong. Africa is clearly finding it much more difficult to make that, you know, to make that adaptation. So getting on then to skills needs of the digital economy, there's a report by a company called Ecoris, which I think is an Anglo-Dutch company, which I thought was quite helpful in giving a sort of hierarchy of skills that could be useful to people looking at this agenda. And it covers 3 things really: basic digital literacy for all. Everyone needs to have a level of digital literacy to be able to cope in today's society. Second level really is around the skills that people need at work to adapt to the changes, you know, with this complementarity issue and hybridization of work, to become effective workers and digital users. And then the third level really is all around the people who are making the digital technology for us, the IT professionals, and the higher level skills that these people need for the future. These are skills that are in hugely high demand across the world now, and a massive shortages, I suspect, of people in that environment. And a second thought was really all around, as Eric was saying, what I call the intertwining or the mixing and interconnection between technical, cognitive and interpersonal skills. And the ILO have done some excellent work on this already, and their 21st century skills document is a really helpful one to look at from that perspective. And but it's not just about technical skills. It's about these jobs, these changes require people to be much more effective communicators, much more effective team players, problem solvers, and so on. And so it's kind of connecting, and also actually the connection of creative skills and technical skills, I think, is particularly important. Look at electronic games design, for example, which is now such an important a part of the UK economy. It's extraordinary how big that part of the economy is now becoming, and how that pulls together creativity and technical ability into a single package. And some research from a company called Burning Glass, who do big data analysis on online vacancies, which of course is a very skewed way of looking at labour market intelligence, but it's actually quite helpful when it comes to digital skills, because so many digital jobs are put online. Highlights a few particular areas that I thought were interesting. So the intersection of design and development and the usability of IT systems is a a real challenge. My 101-year-old father-in-law, can't use his TV anymore because the buttons on his remote control are too small, and nobody thought about that. The sales and customer support using technology in the sales process, the use of emerging digital products and languages, the use of data visualization in a whole range of different professions, and of course navigating the evolving compliance and regulatory landscape. So these are things you might not think about, but they are really rather interesting, I thought, in terms of some of the particular kind of challenges that we're facing in terms of moving forward on digital skills. I just talked about the ILO framework, and there it is. I won't talk about it in any detail today, but you'll see that it's particularly helpful in relation to digital literacy, but perhaps less focused, of course, on user skills and higher level IT professional skills. So, but is a really important dimension. And at our college, we are really focusing very hard at how we can integrate all of these skills together with the technical skills for jobs in developing apprenticeships for the future. So shaping a skills response, I think involves digital literacy for all, helping to create a lifelong learning culture, updating and reskilling the workforce on a much more regular basis than we've ever thought it was necessary to do so in the past, a greater focus on higher level digital skills, such as software, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, data analysis, and so on, improving progression pathways to higher end skills. So what do I mean by that? I mean, most people young people coming to college when they're 16 are coming level 1, level 2, and sometimes at level 3. But we need to help them to find their way through and upwards, up the skills ladder over a period of time. So having the progression pathways in place to allow people to do that, and to particularly to connect vocational skills to university entrance and university degrees is sometimes quite a big challenge in societies, and I think that's one that needs to be particularly looked at. Greater flexibility in learning design, of course, and a much more agile system going forwards. For apprenticeships particularly, I think they will remain a very powerful skills development tool, perhaps the most powerful skills development tool, but they're only a powerful tool if they're developed to high quality standards and all the bits of the jigsaw of developing and delivering them fit together properly. So there's issues about clarity of purpose, the importance of a dual approach, as Ashwani was saying earlier, the relevance of getting the curriculum to be absolutely relevant and up to date, getting the quality of teaching and learning right, making sure that accreditation and recognition is operating effectively, making sure there's sustainable funding and proper and appropriate incentives, and that the system has public confidence and that the public actually even know about it, because in some cases I think the public are much less aware of apprenticeships than they are of university degrees. And in a sense, digitalization only amplifies the complexity of meeting these particular challenges. And I'll just go on to say a bit more about that, because here are some of the challenges, I think, for apprenticeship systems. Strategic and policy challenges. How do we position apprenticeships for the future? Are they about young people and employability, or are they about adult upskilling, or are they and should they be more about higher and degree level apprenticeships? And can they be all of these things at the same time, or do we need to focus them? And as we push towards more higher and degree level apprenticeships, are we forgetting the needs of supporting young people and employability?
Simon, may I request you to kindly make the presentation a bit faster so that we can complete the things in time. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I will be quick. Yeah. Issues about keeping apprenticeships up to date and speeding up the system. Where do we find the staff? How do we pay them enough? Have we got the right equipment for the future? Do we need centres of specialism? And are national qualifications enough in a world where vendor qualifications, Cisco qualifications, Microsoft qualifications seem to be more important, and digital badging by those large international companies seems to be a new and very important way forward for the future? And do we have the funding that we need in order to make these systems work effectively? I won't talk about the good practice case studies, but we looked at a number of different countries as a result of this work, so please have a look at that in more detail. So, it feels to me that the ways forward are, and I've just got 3 slides on this, apprenticeships. We need to really decide what the focus for them is for the future. We can strengthen LMI using online data. We need to be clearer about progression pathways from digital literacy to IT professional skills. We ought to be using businesses, talking to universities and TVET partners to develop degree level apprenticeships in key high level skills areas. And we should be thinking about flexible or bite-sized apprenticeships for us updating the workforce, and maybe modular standards as well. We should be making sure that our occupational standards are absolutely up to date and are in line with international good practice. We should be removing barriers to progression between apprenticeships and university degrees. We certainly should be retaining the dual system model, but we need to be thinking about how to do that effectively, the off-the-job part of that, and maybe using online and blended learning more for off-the-job learning. We need to think about intertwining technical and cognitive and social skills. We need to explore the use of technology, as the next presentation will talk about, in teaching itself. And we need to support training institutions to get the right staff and retain them, those people who have got credible skills. And finally, I think we should be thinking about international standards for digital literacy and micro-credentialing. We need to be developing new partnerships with business to help support the development of good quality facilities. We need to think about maybe online portals, actually, just to present a single brand to the public more effectively, like the Skills Future model in Singapore. And we need to be thinking about digital centres of excellence, as well, of course, as thinking very hard about how we make sure no one is left behind in this whole agenda. So a very quick run through. I hope that's helpful to people. And I'm very interested to take questions. And I believe we've got a short poll, Ashwani, that you wanted to raise about
Yes.
this.
Thank you very much, Simon, for the excellent presentation. I will not further summarize for 2 reasons. First, your presentation was already give a focused findings and key recommendations coming out of the report. And also, because in the interest of time, I'll go to the maybe next point, which is about taking the opinion of the participants on what you have presented. Basically, this, if you see the dear participants see on the screen, this is a question we are asking you. In your opinion, what are the 2 most important, not click on everyone, just click on the 2 most important priorities for modernizing apprenticeships to meet the challenge of digitalization. And if you have seen, these options are coming primarily from the recommendations made by the Simon. So it's more like going to see what the participants feel, which of those recommendations are more important. Of course, all of them are important, but in terms of, it will give a sense of priority which you think. And you can see on the screen, we'll show the results of the polls soon. I will request all of you to kindly click on the 2 most relevant, most important priorities that you think. As we are still getting responses, I will wait for a few more seconds. Please click as soon as possible so that we can go to the next item. So maybe I request Jenny to stop the poll and now show the results. So now we can see on the screen, basically, if you see on the screen, the most important, the number one priority, which is coming from the European Union, is more flexible programs for upskilling and reskilling. And close to that is also having a clear and ambitious digital skills or apprenticeship strategy, or apprenticeships linked to the digital skills strategy. Then also there are other points also. You can scroll down to see it's not completely visible, all the options. And you can see also degree level apprenticeships, also better labor market intelligence, and attracting and retaining teaching staffs are also considered quite important in that order. With this one, I think we'll go to the, before we go to the next presentation, I will request, we are already receiving some questions in the Q&A. So now, based on the presentation made by Simon, you must be having a lot of thoughts, suggestions, or some queries. Please use Q&A tab to enter your suggestions, queries, or whatever questions you have in your mind. Thank you very much, Simon, again, once more. Now I will request our next presenter, Francesca. She has done also an excellent work together with her co-author from the same university in producing this excellent work. And I will not again name it. This is a digital transformation of apprenticeship, but I'll now call upon Francesca to make the presentation.
Thank you, Ashwani, for the introduction. Do you see my slide?
Yes, please go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ashwani, and thank you, ILO, for the invitation. It's so nice to see the report finally published. It required a lot of work, and I really hope that you have the chance to read it. And I really hope that can be useful, a useful reference for you to understand and to explore the challenges and the opportunities of digital transformation in apprenticeship programs. What we tried to do with this report, we consider the ILO model for quality assurance of apprenticeship, and we tried to see how digital technologies could be helpful at each stage of the quality assurance. So from the beginning, from developing a quality apprenticeship program to the end, to the assessment of the quality apprenticeship program. The report is very long, so in the context of this presentation, I will focus on two aspects. So on how to use digital technologies for educational purposes, and especially in relation with platforms that can be used to connect the work-based learning part of apprenticeship and the school-based part of the apprenticeship. So in our view, in order to understand how to integrate digital technologies in apprenticeship, you need to answer before to this question. So how people learn in apprenticeship program? Why it's important? Because you cannot introduce digital technologies in apprenticeship program if you don't consider learning processes. So there are different models that explain how people learn in workplace and professional context. I will propose you the cycle of Kolb. Why? This model explains that learning happens when you have the chance to reflect on your professional experience. So the Kolb model connects experience, concrete experience that can happen at workplace, with the reflection activities that can usually happen within school. However, many research showed that people, apprentices, usually feel that school and workplace are separated. And one of the ideas that our research group try to develop is that technology can be a bridge that connect the school learning part and the workplace part. So I would like to ask Jenny if she can launch the poll that I have for you, that is related about the role of digital technologies in apprenticeship. So you have 4 options. You have 30 seconds for answering. Okay. So other 10 seconds. Okay, Jenny, if it's possible, I would like to ask you to see the results, if they arrived. Perfect. So most of you say that digital technology is a way to bridge the gap between school and workplace, also maybe because I anticipated it. But in the context of this presentation, I will show you that digital technology can be useful for all of these functions in different way. So all of your answers are correct. So we start from an experience with EDAP. EDAP is a mobile application tool that was developed in the context of chef apprenticeship. The idea is that you can use the EDAP to grasp, to collect information on the professional experience, and to reflect on that through reflective prompts that are presented in the web environment. So you can see here how the EDAP works. So there is the apprentice that took a picture of the recipe he was preparing, and he uploaded the picture in the EDAP environment, especially in the recipe environment. He can put, he has different reflective prompts. So for example, describe your recipe, what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the preparation. He also is required to self-assess, and he can ask to his company tutor a feedback. So the company tutor look at the recipe on the EDAP. He can provide both a qualitative comment, a written comment, and a quantitative assessment. And after that, they have the opportunity to meet in person, face-to-face, and to comment the students' performance. So this is one case that connects experience, concrete experience, with reflection on concrete experience. Another example is connected with Rialto. And here the context was the profession of beauticians. So beauticians were asked to watch a static picture of skin disease, and they have to inquire, to reflect about what are the possible disease of this kind of skin, and how they can do it. So they were provided with a picture, they selected by the teacher, and they, with the Rialto platform, they had the opportunity to annotate. So they were required to annotate if they see some issues related with the color or the texture of the skin. And after that, the teacher can see all the annotation provided by each student. And so can see, for example, if one student noticed only one detail, or if a student noticed many details, and if the details they noticed were correct or not. You can see here that In this picture, the teacher selects the name of the students and can see the annotation from the one student, the annotation provided by another student. This can be also a tool for assessing the capacity of the students to annotate a picture and to notice important things in a picture. Another example is related with another platform that is called iVideo Education. It's a platform that is used to turn raw video, simple video, into interactive video. I don't know if you are familiar with the concept of interactive video. Interactive video are a video in which you can interact. For example, there are active points that allow you to access to additional materials, to hyperlink, to pictures, to PDF files, and so on. You can have also quizzes within an hyper video. So it's an interactive, a video with which you can interact. In the context of this we did several experiments with iVideo Education. In this context, students were required to create a video for other students, an educational video for other students about the procedure of catheter insertion. So they created from the beginning, they created a simulation, the storyboard of the simulation. They recorded the simulation and they used the iVideo. I show you now the procedure. And they used the iVideo to turn the raw video into an interactive video with the goal to teach to other students of the same age how to do the catheter insertion. And this approach was very, very effective in improving their theoretical knowledge on catheter insertion. So you can see here that they recorded the video, they simulated the procedure, and then they worked with iVideo platform. And I want to show this example also to see that digital technologies can be applied with very different professions. Now we are going to more innovative kinds of technologies. So you can use technologies to improve the opportunity to simulate. So in the previous case, you see that students simulate in the reality, but you can also simulate in virtual context, thanks to virtual reality and thanks to 360-degree video technologies. In the first case that I present you is called Garden VR, and students in Garden VR are required to design a garden through virtual reality. So you can see here that when you switch to the design mode, you are from the top of the garden and you can choose between different kinds of trees, and you can plant the trees within the garden. And you have also extra, so you can also insert also branches and stuff like that. And when you finished to design your garden, you switch to another mode that is called Explore mode. That is this one, that allows you to watch the garden from a first view perspective. And you can see how the garden looks like. For example, if the branch is put in the correct position compared to the shadow of a tree. And another very interesting thing of virtual reality is that you can manipulate time and space condition. For example, in this case, you can see how the garden looks like during summer, during winter, during spring. For example, if you want to work on the colors. And you can also manipulate the growth of the tree. So you can see how the garden looks like in 5 years, in 10 years, and in 20 years. And to work on the shadow, that is a very important aspect, you can work on the time of the day. So you can see how the garden looks like in the early morning, at 12, or during the evening. Another thing on which we are working now currently is 360-degree video. it's interesting because you don't need to be a computer scientist to create a virtual reality experience. You need just a camera, a 360-degree camera, and you can create virtual reality experiences like the one that you see here. We created this video to teach students how to carry out a blood procedure sampling. So you can see that you can watch this video through Oculus, so through a virtual reality headset. And it's interesting because you can see all the context of the simulation. You can also change the point of view, because for us it was very important because we wanted to work on emotional management. So to see the face expression of the patient and the nurse was very important. And you have also the chance to look at the details. So the arm that was on which the puncture was made. Maybe you see in a second in the video this. So yes, you can have also this chance. This is a particular 360-degree video that is called interactive 360-degree video. And another technology that is very interesting for us is augmented reality. Augmented reality compared to virtual reality allow you to work on the reality, on the physical world, by providing additional information. So this is a case that was developed many years ago in the context of logisticians. They had to learn how to build a warehouse and how to position shelves in this model of a warehouse. And it was interesting, you know, I don't know if you saw, there were the green and the red light. Green meant that you put the shelves in the correct position. Red means that you didn't put the shelves in the correct position. For example, because the forklift cannot pass, there is not enough space for a forklift to pass among the shelves. So this is a very rapid panoramic of different digital technologies that can be applied in vocational education, in apprenticeship, from more simple one to more advanced one. And there are, of course, in the report, many critical considerations on the integration of digital technologies in apprenticeship. It's important to develop an ethical integration of digital technologies in apprenticeship. There are problems related with privacy. There are problems related with the digital divide. And so you need to consider them when you integrate digital technologies in apprenticeship. And you also need to test, because some of these technologies are very new, for example, virtual reality and augmented reality. And we need to see in which condition, under which condition they are effective. So my suggestion, especially with the new technologies, is to try, if possible, to collaborate with research centers that can provide you evidence on the effectiveness of the digital technologies. And the digital technologies should be integrated in a wider context of teaching and learning. So it's important to understand, I wanted to use technologies for explaining a concept, for assessing, for developing reflection, for working on errors and mistakes. So it's important to have a wider view of the learning and teaching process, and then understand in which phase I want to integrate digital technologies. And the other consideration that I started from Kolb cycle. So it's important to start from a theory of learning. And if you think about learning, then the right use of technology will follow. So if I say I want to use technologies to support reflection, I will use technologies that can support reflection. If I want to use technologies that support manual skills, I will use a technology that supports manual skills like augmented reality. Of course, for doing this work, you need teachers with the digital competence. Otherwise, they are not able to recognize the opportunities behind digital technologies and to integrate them in educational paths. Digital competence are not enough. You need also infrastructure that allow you to integrate digital technologies. And from our report, we show that in contexts in which infrastructure are not available, you can collaborate with partners, so with NGOs or also with the research partners. And if you read the report, you see that there are very also difficult contexts in which digital technologies were efficiently and effectively integrated. And my suggestion, also because I come from a research center, is try to develop collaboration with the research center, because they can provide you resources and they can provide you information about the effectiveness of your intervention. So thank you so much for your attention, and thanks to ILO for this opportunity to be with you today.
Thank you very much, Francesca, for this excellent presentation. Dear participants, you will agree with me. Francesca has shown very effective digital tools that can be used. And these tools are using not only high technology, but she has shown also some tools which are using low technology also. So that means these can be used by all different in different contexts, by countries which do not have high technology or the institutions which do not have the access to those high technology. So there are always possibility to use these digital tools in enhancing the learning experience and making the apprenticeship much more effective. One more area where the use of digital technology is being used in making the apprenticeship system much more effective is in management, monitoring and evaluation also. For example, some country like, for example, in India, they have developed complete digital portal where most of the routine functions have been digitalized. So the contact, basically the contact between an apprentice and company is only starts when the actual apprentice starts the training program. All the previous process of accreditation of the company is online, registration, selection of the apprentice is online. So, and then monitoring and evaluation is also online. So there are various ways. One is the role of a digital technology is in the learning process, and second is the management process. And management process is so important in particularly low and middle income country, because in those countries, typically, because of use of manual systems, their lack of effective coordination, effective monitoring and evaluation. And even many times there is not even information available how many apprentices or learners are in the system also, and in which occupations they are learning. So digital technology has transformed the way it can be done. And if you see in this report, we are presented the key aspect of the report, but then in the report there are some other excellent information. Once you go through, you'll find it there also. And another beauty of this report is that it's completely aligned with the ILO's apprenticeship toolkit for practitioners. The apprenticeship training, it aligns with the apprenticeship training life cycle. The whole digitalization process is linked with the apprenticeship training life cycle, how it's planned to the execution to the implementation monitoring also. So it is a clear alignment, and it really will help you in digitalizing your apprenticeship systems in your own countries also. Now we quickly come back to the questions. We are already seeing a lot of questions are there. I'm already seeing that Simon has responded to a few of the questions. Similarly, before I come to Francesca, you like to see some of the questions are specifically addressed to you, because you can to save the time, you can answer some of the questions there. Then I'll pose a few questions first to Simon and then come back to you also. And in the meantime, all the participants, dear participants, please feel free to ask more questions, or you can also, if you don't have any questions, you can provide some link to the resources in case your country has developed, or your institution or your company has developed some good resources, links to these topics. or any other topic links to the skills and lifelong learning, please feel free to add in the chat. Do not write those information on the Q&A tab. You use the chat function to provide that information, and also provide the web links through which the participants can access that information, because we are trying to promote not only the interaction between the panelists and the participants, it is a way to promote interactions between the participant to the participants also, even though in a virtual method. Now, Simon, there's one question which we received also. They are saying, very crucial question, it's not just from digitalization. They're saying how to obtain industry willingness for apprenticeship training. And links to the question is also that when TVET institutions do not have the capacity to form partnership with the industry, within the industry, is there a way to initiate an apprenticeship program? What can the governments do to remedy the situation? So both the questions are linked to each other. Maybe I'll request Simon to, with his vast experience on apprenticeship, not only in the developed countries, but also in the developing country, please try to understand, address this crucial question. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dashwani. It's the $64,000 question, isn't it? That really, how do you make sure employers are adequately engaged in apprenticeships? And there is no magic answer, I'm afraid. I mean, it takes many years in some cases to build up a kind of culture which encourages, in which employers feel confident and understand the system and so on. But I mean, I think there are a few steps that help the process. The first is having a really kind of clear policy, and a policy in which employers are engaged in the development of the policy and feel that they have some degree of ownership or responsibility given to them, with responsibility that they can exercise, so they don't just feel that the government is doing something to them, but that they are a genuine partner with government in shaping apprenticeship policy. The second thought is that the incentive system needs to be very carefully considered. So having just done some work in Sri Lanka, which of course has got some very fundamental challenges at the moment in terms of money, that's a very big issue. But you do need to have I think you do need to provide a way, either through incentives or challenges to employers to help them to overcome the fear of apprenticeships and their perception that apprenticeships are a risk and a cost rather than an investment. So there's a lot of, it's about changing a mindset from that point of view. I personally think that incentives are more effective than trying to mandate that employers must take apprenticeships. I think India tried to go down that road some years ago and it was not a success. So it's much better to try and provide incentives. And the third idea would be you have to start small and build quality, because employers understand quality. And if they see systems that have got lots of weaknesses and poor curriculum, out-of-date curriculum, poor teaching, then they will walk away. So you need to have a way in which you can demonstrate to them that if they become involved, they will get good quality outcomes at the end. And and the most effective way we found of doing is that you have to go and help employers. They don't do it always for themselves. So you do need training providers who can step into employer premises with the confidence to talk about the business problems that the company is facing, and then see the skills implications of those problems, not just try and sell them apprenticeships. So we now have a business development unit at our college that talks to employers about what's their biggest challenge, what's their next project, what's their new program of development, and how can we support them to have the talent pipeline that they need deliver that effectively.
Thank you very much, Simon. I think very, very useful points you have mentioned. I think this capacity development of the employers, also awareness building is very important, and VET institutions has to do. Another development which is taking place is also sometimes VET institutions themselves do not have the capacity or the outreach to reach out. So the role of intermediaries is also increasing. So many of the countries are setting up the intermediaries who can assist, who can set up an ecosystem for the apprenticeship as a whole. So what we need is basically an ecosystem for apprenticeship system. And in the ecosystem, so far, we used to only typically talks about only a VET institution and a company. But now in this ecosystem, the role of intermediaries is also becoming very crucial, which can play a big important role. And it's happening only not in the low-income country or the countries where apprenticeship is not a culture, but even if you see the countries which have the highest, best apprenticeship system like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, even in these countries also, intermediaries are playing a significant role since ages. And many times this information is not available to everyone, but they are playing a crucial role. And ILO also has a publication on the role of intermediaries. In the meantime, there is a question also on the chat Q&A that whether ILO has some resources on developing apprenticeships in the underdeveloped countries. I'm requesting my colleague Jenny to post the links. ILO has developed excellent publications on which are toolkits on quality apprenticeships. So the first one is for policymakers to assist them in developing the right policies and systems. And the toolkit 2 is about for the practitioners, basically in developing, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating the programs. Now, I'll also, because we have just, thank you very much to Francesca also for answering many of the questions on the chat, but I'll still like her to answer at least one question face to face, even though she was typing and the question is very important. For example, it says, thank you very much, Francesca. I read about virtual classrooms. And the question is how it differs to a platform you have shared. Francesca,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Yes, I try to answer. I have to tell you that there are many different definitions. So, for example, virtual platform can be defined in different way. So, can be platform related with virtual reality. Example very common can be Second Life. I don't know if you know. So our environment or The Sims, the game. So a game computer generated in which are possible some kind of interaction. But sometimes virtual platform are also a way to define a learning management system, like one that is very used around the world is Moodle. So it really depends because sometimes words are interchangeable. So you can use virtual platform to speak about learning management system or about environment that like the Garden VR, but computer based. So for example, Garden VR, the application that I showed you, can be accessible also by a computer, not only by head-mounted display.
Thank you very much, Francesca. Dear participants, we see some of your queries are related to recordings and presentations. Yes, recording will be available on the website of this program, this webinar. And after checking up with the presenters, we will inform you about the presentations also, that one. But in the meantime, as we are near to the closing time, I will request my colleague, Karin, to kindly make the closing remarks. And of course, all the participants, you are always feel free to keep on contacting us. You have our email address in the concept note also. You are we'll put all of you also in our network. If you have any further information, queries or questions, or anyone to collaborate with us on any aspect, you are please feel free to write to us. Thank you very much. Karin, over to you.
Thank you very much. much, Ashwani, and thanks for having me in such an insightful masterclass today. It was a good opportunity to indeed shed light on the two main areas the ILO is supporting when it comes to the digital transformation and digital transition of skills development and apprenticeship systems, which are on the one hand, the need to support this dynamically changing demand for skills and to which apprenticeship program need to be aligning with, and what it entails as well in terms of curricula update, trainers, continuous professional development, and the upgrade of TVET centers so they are able to deliver those specific skills. And on the other hand, the support to this modernization, adaptation of apprenticeship systems to the digital era, and to provide more inclusive, responsive, and flexible solutions for skilling, upskilling, and reskilling for individuals' multiple transitions to and in the labor market in the digital economy. So based on what we've heard today, maybe I'll come up with two main insights or even recommendations. On the changing skills demand itself, we saw the framework that was shared today, and a lot of other frameworks do exist on whether it is specifically digital skills or core skills for the digital economy. And these list or type of skills that are needed are not, black or white, and a way to really make it more impactful to identify those skills is really to look at them in a user-centric manner. Who is going to be needing this and that type of skills? And so the ILO is, for example, looking at a sector and occupational based, but it would be also good to look at, what are the skills that are needed for job seekers or entrepreneurs or lifelong learners in general, to be a bit more specific in the digital skills or in the skills compiled with the core and technical skills that are needed in the digital economy and society. And for example, those digital users that Simon, I think, referred to, may also need 101 level or intro level of those digital makers tagged skills such as big data or blockchain or cybersecurity or data visualization or cryptocurrencies, for example. First, because those learners or those individuals need them in their daily lives, in their everyday lives, to be able to thrive in the digital society. And also because of what Simon referred to, those hybrid occupations and the skills required for them, and that you've referred to, Simon. So that would be my take and my insight on the changing skills demand in the digital economy. Now, when we talk about the fact to use technologies for modernizing and adapting apprenticeship system, my recommendation on that would take a lot of what was mentioned today would be to say that we need to structure and strategize to make it work in a qualitative and sustainable manner. We saw a lot of innovations, very good innovations popping up during the COVID-19 pandemic as a kind of a panic response to maintain education and training. And now comes a time, and this masterclass is supporting this, to have a more human-centered and strategic and integrated approach to the transformation. And transformation is not an end per se, or the digital technologies are not a end per se. Change is needed to achieve some predefined goals that should be embedded in a broader strategy to modernize and come up with quality apprenticeship and quality apprenticeship system. Therefore, defining what I call the why is critical as a starting point. And you also referred to that earlier on. What are we willing to achieve? Whether that be in or out of the learning process. Are we willing to maximize outreach and, for example, on board in a TVET system or a TVET program, remote learners from across geographies? technologies could be an answer. Are we looking at supporting social inclusion and, for example, people with disabilities? And here, assistive technologies would be an answer. Are we looking at reducing costs? And, for example, reducing costs related to logistics or the use of raw materials. And in that respect, extended reality technologies could be an answer. Are we looking at improving relevance and in that respect of curricula or learning pathways? And in that respect, machine learning could be an answer, and so on and so forth. So if and only if technologies are a good means of achieving part or all of these goals, then let's leverage them. But it can't work if we have a solutions-based approach and not a needs-based approach. So the why behind making, a choice of a solution is definitely key. Another key ingredient is who and for whom we are designing those solutions and putting in place new processes in the process. You cannot make it work if you're not looking at people first, whether that be instructors who are going to be using those technologies, learners and their profile, their typologies, what are the learning situations we are looking at, what is the ecosystem teachers and trainers and learners are evolving in terms of meaningful connectivity, in terms of devices, at home, in the classroom, in the workplace. What about their readiness in terms of skills, but also mindsets and attitudes towards those tech-enabled, teaching and learning solutions. And if the user is not considered, the whole potential that we've talked about will be wiped out because of non-looking at, responsive solutions, universal design principles, assistive technologies, accessibility principles, and so on and so forth. So really, and to try to summarize a little bit, the how and the way we manage the change around using technologies as part of the transformation or modernization strategy is really key. Provide vision and leadership, define the culture, lifelong learning, but also, technology type of culture, redefining the processes, the roles, the tasks and responsibilities of all of new actors and stakeholders in this complexified environment that we've described, and provide capacity building to make sure that we empower and maximize uptake and that all key stakeholders play an active role in the transformation. So again, technology should not come first. And the whole user experience, the whole architecture of the apprenticeship pathway is key and should be considered. And technologies should be seen here as a tool, as a means, as a new additional or complementary channel to meet some goals that have been defined in a strategic approach. And once you've assessed the needs, once the context is clearly defined and the enabling environment made possible, then you define clear goals and the means to achieve them, whether they are tech-enabled, high-tech, lower-tech ones, to make sure that you meet the specified needs and goals. So create the whole experience is definitely key. Measure and evaluate your strategy in a dynamic manner, again, because tech are here to stay but evolve on a rapid pace. So we need to constantly pilot, implement, and adapt. Thank you very much, Ashwani, for giving me the floor to close this very insightful masterclass. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carrie, for this excellent, not only summary, but also sharing your own experiences also and providing very, very useful guidance in the way forward, how the countries can think about adapting digitalization and digital strategies for strengthening their apprenticeship, not only apprenticeship, but skills and lifelong learning systems in general. So with this one, again, I'd like to thank all the participants. And it's very, very encouraging to see, even when there's so much of fatigue on online events, when many of the events, you do not find the participants coming, or this one, still we are late by 10 minutes and still I can see a lot of participants are still online listening to this one. And we will definitely, as you can see, it's not the last episode. We will come up with more episodes, primarily looking into your needs, what you need, and how we'll bring also the best of the speakers and examples from all over the world to showcase and share with you, and also share the best of the expertise of ILO and its partners. And again, looking back to our experts, panelists, and the institutions, again, thanks to the Government of Flanders for collaborating with us. Thank you very much for Swiss Federal University for Vocational Education and Training. And thank you very much to Simon and all other speakers and panelists for coming here and sharing your expertise with the participants. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.